What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? Rachel Monroe never thought rock bottom would feel this cold, or this quiet. The emergency shelter smelled like bleach and loneliness, and the cot beneath her felt more like punishment than rest. She curled under the worn-out blanket, trying to block out the hum of the overhead lights and the shallow breathing of the stranger 2 beds over. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from remembering everything she'd once had, and how quickly it vanished. A year ago, she was a rising star in urban planning, designing eco-smart transit systems that promised to reshape American cities. Now, she was eating from paper trays and charging her dead phone under a flickering hallway outlet. Her pride was a ghost that stopped visiting weeks ago. She turned on her side, pulled her coat tighter around her, and checked the date, June 7th. Something was happening today. A headline scrolled across the communal shelter TV. Tesla announces new Robo van to revolutionize public transit. Live stream begins at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The headline should have felt distant, irrelevant, something for the privileged to fawn over. But instead, a strange pulse moved through her chest. She stood, wrapped her coat around herself, and walked to the front room where the shelter's old flat screen buzzed with static. A few others were gathered, some mumbling about Elon Musk, others just there for warmth. But Rachel watched, eyes fixed. The live stream began. The stage lights flickered to life in Austin, Texas. Elon Musk walked out, wearing that signature casual smile and black blazer over a t-shirt. "We have a problem in America," he said. "And it's not the cars, it's the people we leave behind." Rachel's fingers twitched. Cities are broken. Transit is broken. Human dignity should never be a casualty of technology, he said. Then came the reveal. With a dramatic sweep of his hand, the curtain lifted. The Tesla Robo van emerged. Sleek, silver, and pulsing with soft blue lights. It looked like the future had given birth to empathy. 20 passenger seats. Fully electric. Entirely autonomous. Powered by Tesla AI that could adapt to human emotion, community needs, and real-time traffic demands. But then came the kicker. Elon raised an eyebrow and leaned into the mic. "We're doing something different with this launch. We're giving one ordinary citizen, a planner, a dreamer, someone who's been ignored, a chance to lead our pilot program in the toughest city in America." The chat on the live stream exploded. Rachel's breath caught. "If that sounds like you," he said, "we're accepting video essays for the next 72 hours. Pitch us your vision. This program isn't about credentials, it's about heart." People in the shelter chuckled, scoffed, went back to their business. But Rachel stood frozen. Not in awe, but in disbelief. Could she really be considered? Could someone like her, a disgraced planner with nothing but memories, be worth a second look? A woman nearby said sarcastically, "Maybe they'll give that job to one of us." Rachel turned and whispered, "Maybe they should." Later that night, she sat on the shelter's donated laptop, a clunky Dell with a buzzing fan and a cracked spacebar. Her hands hovered over the keyboard. The screen showed the submission site, Tesla Robo Van Human-Centered Urban Transit Pilot, apply now. She wasn't sure if it was hope or delusion, but something made her start typing. Her name. Her background. And then, in trembling honesty, her fall. She wrote about her love for cities, her heartbreak over watching them fail their own people, and the fire that still smoldered inside her, small, but not gone. She didn't pretend to be perfect. She didn't pad her resume. She simply wrote what she knew, that mobility wasn't about machines. It was about giving people their lives back. She hit submit at 2:14 a.m. Just before closing the laptop, she added something to her essay's closing line: "If you choose me, you're choosing the millions of people this system forgot." She pressed send. She stared at the screen. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The line from Elon's presentation kept echoing in her head. But it wasn't just marketing to her, it was a question that demanded an answer. What pushed her forward, even now? Maybe it was remembering how it used to feel to be useful. Maybe it was the memory of riding the bus with her mom through the rain as a kid, dreaming of building better ones. Maybe it was the knowledge that she still had something to offer. 3 days passed. Nothing. Rachel tried not to check her email obsessively, but she did. Each time, the inbox mocked her. Lila, her old friend and former co-worker, called and left a message. "Hey Rach, I heard about the Tesla program. That has your name written all over it. I hope you applied. Call me, okay?" Rachel didn't respond. She couldn't bear to hear the pity in Lila's voice. On the 4th day, while eating a plastic bowl of oatmeal at the shelter breakfast table, her phone buzzed. She blinked. The screen read, "Tesla Human Resources, urgent." Her heart slammed into her ribs. She answered. A smooth, polite voice said, "Miss Monroe. This is Diana Rodriguez with Tesla's Urban Pilot Program. Are you available for a virtual interview today?" Rachel blinked, scrambled to her feet, oatmeal flying off the table. Yes, I am." "Great," Diana said. "We were moved by your story. We'd like to talk more. 2 p.m. Link is in your email." Rachel barely remembered the next 5 hours. She borrowed clothes from a donation bin, found a mirror in the women's bathroom, and cleaned herself up as best she could. She practiced her breathing. Her heart wouldn't stop racing. At 2 p.m., she logged into the call using the shelter's front desk computer. The screen loaded, and suddenly she was face to face with 3 Tesla executives, and behind them, in the corner, Elon Musk himself. Not a recording. Not a cutout. Elon, live, watching her. "Rachel," Diana began, "your application stood out. We wanted to understand your vision a bit more." Rachel sat straight. Her voice shook at first, but grew stronger. "I believe transit is about dignity. It's about letting people belong. Not just the ones with money or cars or apps, but everyone. I know what it's like to be forgotten. And I've seen what happens when people stop believing their city cares about them." The panel listened silently. Elon leaned forward. "You said in your essay that the system forgot people like you. But what if the system let you redesign it?" Rachel paused. "Then I'd make sure no one ever feels forgotten again." Elon smiled slightly. Diana nodded. "You'll be flying to Austin this Friday. Pack whatever you need. The next 90 days will be the most intense, transformative experience of your life." Rachel's mouth opened. She choked out, I don't even have a suitcase." Elon laughed. "We'll take care of it." The screen went dark. She stood there, stunned. Around her, the noise of the shelter continued, plates clinking, kids yelling, the world turning as if nothing had changed. But for Rachel, everything had. In 1 week, she went from invisible to invited. From discarded to chosen. She wasn't sure what awaited her in Austin. She wasn't even sure she deserved it. But the look in Elon's eyes wasn't one of charity, it was recognition. Somehow, he saw something in her that she had nearly forgotten. A mind that once dreamed of cities that worked for everyone. A heart that still refused to give up. And a chance, just one, to rebuild not only a transit system, but a life. The private jet smelled like citrus and leather, the kind of scent that Rachel had only ever associated with luxury car commercials or the rich section of airports she passed by without looking. Now, it was her reality. She sat near the window, staring down at the clouds, wondering how long this would last, this break in the storm, this impossible pause in a 2-year-long freefall. She hadn't packed much, 2 thrift store blazers, a notebook, and a battered laptop with half the keys rubbed off. A Tesla in turn had met her at the shelter with a new phone and a prepaid card for clothes, but Rachel had frozen at the idea of shopping for herself again. She'd bought a gray pantsuit that didn't draw too much attention and a pair of sneakers, something she could move fast in if needed. Everything still felt borrowed. Unreal. As the jet touched down in Austin, Rachel braced herself. She wasn't here for fun. This wasn't a vacation. It was a test, an invitation that could be revoked at any moment. The air outside the plane hit her like a wall, hot, dry, electric with the energy of something just beginning. The Tesla campus was sprawling, all sleek lines and solar roofs, a futuristic city of its own humming quietly with drones, engineers, and driverless shuttles that glided past with eerie silence. Rachel was escorted by a young assistant named Cody, who looked fresh out of college and couldn't stop smiling. "We're so pumped to have you here. Everyone read your essay. Even the cafeteria staff." Rachel smiled politely, heart pounding. She didn't trust compliments anymore. They always came with expiration dates. "Thanks," she said, gripping the handle of her cheap rolling suitcase like it might try to escape. The other 4 finalists were already in the welcome room, a glass-walled lounge with smart furniture and infused water stations. Rachel noticed them immediately. One woman with a military stance and a sharp jawline. One older man with thick glasses and a data tablet in hand. One non-binary person with purple hair and an arm tattoo that read "Urban Rage." And Marcus. He sat with one leg propped on a low stool, his left leg a carbon fiber prosthetic that shimmered in the light. He nodded at her as she entered. She nodded back. Something unspoken passed between them, something like respect, or shared wariness. "Hi, everyone," Cody announced. "You're the 5 finalists. Over the next 10 days, you'll go through training, immersion, and evaluation. Only one of you will be chosen to lead the pilot program. It's not just about ideas, it's about resilience, leadership, and heart." Rachel swallowed. She knew she had the heart. She just hoped it was enough. That night, they were shown to their individual pods, modular apartments powered entirely by Tesla energy. Her room was minimalist, white walls, a touch-screen interface, a bed that adjusted to her heartbeat, and a personal terminal loaded with study materials. Rachel didn't sleep. She spent hours scrolling through documents, Tesla's AI ethics protocols, urban analysis reports, the current failures of American bus systems. It was all familiar, but it all felt like it came from a different life. In the morning, training began. The first challenge: design a transit route for a fictional city where half the population didn't have smartphones. Rachel smiled to herself. That was easy. She proposed a kiosk-based system with community engagement liaisons, people trained to bridge digital divides in transit. The others leaned hard into tech, AI facial scanning, predictive routing. Rachel argued for empathy. "Technology is great," she told the panel. "But dignity comes first. If your solution makes people feel stupid, they won't use it." Elon watched the session from the back. He didn't speak. He just watched, his arms folded. The second challenge was harder. A simulation where a van must choose between rerouting to avoid a traffic jam or picking up a pregnant woman on the side of the road. Rachel paused the simulation and asked, "Why not both?" She rewrote the algorithm to prioritize urgency and medical need. The system flagged it as an unauthorized edit. Elon walked over, looked at her screen, then looked at her. "You just told the AI to break its own rule set." Rachel nodded. Sometimes systems need to be rewritten. Elon said nothing, but nodded once, slowly. Over the next few days, she found herself drawn to Marcus. They shared meals, compared notes, and occasionally traded stories about how they ended up here. Marcus had been a Marine, lost his leg in an IED blast, and then went into rehab where he discovered a passion for biomechanics. He had a quiet sadness in him but also a stubborn light. "You know," he said over dinner one night, I didn't come here thinking I'd get picked. I just wanted to be reminded that I wasn't broken. Rachel looked at him and said, "Yeah. Me too." On day 6, they were taken into the heart of the Robo van lab. It looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, rows of suspended vehicle bodies, a sea of wiring and AI nodes glowing with soft blue pulses. Rachel touched the side of one van, felt the hum under her fingertips. Cody appeared beside her. "This one's yours," he said. "If you make it." Inside the van, she saw the interface, a curved screen showing live environmental data, empathy maps, thermal scans of passenger stress levels. The AI was watching everything, not just location or traffic, but people. "We call it perceptive AI," Cody said. "It learns how humans feel and adjusts the ride accordingly, light, sound, temperature, even route decisions." Rachel stared at the interface. "But how does it know what we need?" Cody replied, "That's where you come in." That night, Rachel couldn't sleep again. She sat on the floor, sketching out plans in her notebook. How she'd implement this van in a real city. Not just as a novelty, but as a lifeline. She thought about her mother, who'd worked double shifts and taken 3 buses to get to work. She thought about the man at the shelter who limped to the job center every day because he couldn't afford gas. She thought about herself, sitting alone just a week ago, with no idea that her life was about to lurch forward again. On day 8, the panel interviews began. This time, the pressure was real. They asked about leadership under pressure, handling failure, public perception, and, most of all, compassion in high-stakes design. Rachel answered every question as honestly as she could. "I failed," she said during one interview. "I was taken down by politics and ego, some mine, some others. But I never stopped believing in what cities could be." On day 9, someone tried to sabotage her. She returned to her pod to find her terminal open, her files corrupted. Someone had attempted to upload fake planning documents under her name. The system flagged it, but the stress was unbearable. She reported it, shaking with anger. Later that night, Marcus found her by the reflecting pool outside the dorms. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know," she said. "I feel like I'm back in the same war I fought a year ago." He sat beside her. "You didn't come here to escape the war. You came to win a new one." On the final day, each finalist was brought before Elon Musk in a one-on-one review. Rachel entered the room and sat across from him, heart hammering. He looked at her, expression unreadable. "You think systems need to be rewritten," he said. "That scares a lot of people." Rachel didn't blink. "It should. That's how you know it's necessary." He leaned back, hands clasped. "You're not like the others." "I know," she said quietly. "I've been on the other side of the line." Elon nodded. "You'll be going to Detroit. That's where we're piloting the first human-led deployment of the Tesla Robo van. You'll be the face of it." Rachel didn't speak. She was too stunned. "You have 3 days to prepare," he added. "We'll brief you on everything. But from here on out, this program lives or dies with you." She rose slowly. "Thank you," she said, voice trembling. As she left the room, Marcus was standing outside, waiting. He gave her a thumbs up. She didn't smile. Not yet. Not until the van was rolling down the streets of Detroit, and the people she'd fought for finally saw it wasn't just another promise. It was a beginning. Rachel stood at the edge of the Tesla campus helipad with a government-issued laptop in one hand and a sealed envelope labeled, "Confidential, Detroit Deployment Docs," in the other. The wind from the rotor blades of the sleek Tesla Air Transport kicked up dust as a pilot in a matte gray jumpsuit signaled for her to board. This wasn't a dream anymore. This wasn't theoretical. This was launch day. 3 days earlier, she'd been chosen. Now, she was flying solo into a city many had written off, armed with nothing but her vision and a van that could think for itself. The Tesla Robo van project wasn't just rolling out a vehicle, it was rolling out a philosophy, a direct challenge to everything the world had accepted about public transportation, class separation, and urban neglect. Detroit wasn't just another city. It was where the American dream had once thrived and then collapsed. And for Rachel, it was more than that. It was home. The aircraft descended into a zone of broken windows, overgrown sidewalks, and streets that looked like time had forgotten them. From above, you could see the fading grid of neighborhoods that once held families, schools, factories. Now mostly silence and ghosts. Rachel exhaled slowly as the doors opened and her boots hit the pavement. A black Tesla Model X was waiting. "Welcome to Detroit, Ms. Monroe," said a sharply dressed man with a badge clipped to his coat. "I'm James Carter, Regional Liaison. We've secured a local Tesla operations center for your use. Press is aware of your arrival. The mayor's office expects you by noon. You've got about 90 minutes. It was overwhelming. She hadn't even taken a breath in her hometown and already the machine had begun moving. As they drove through the city, memories ambushed her. The corner where she used to buy chili dogs after school. The crumbling shell of the library her mother used to read to her in. The bus stop where she'd first dreamed of designing something better. Her old house, now boarded up, flashed past like a ghost waving goodbye. James rattled off facts and updates. "We've placed 3 vans in storage, 2 live demos available next week. First community engagement session is scheduled with Pastor Dion Lewis at Westside Fellowship. He's cautious but curious." Rachel nodded, only half hearing. Her stomach twisted with more than nerves. There was grief in this city, layers of it, and now she had to peel them back. At the operations center, she walked the floor like a general before battle. Engineers were configuring real-time telemetry, city planners hovered over maps, and Tesla's AI team adjusted perception algorithms to reflect human behavior patterns pulled from years of public transit data. But the van, they kept calling it the van, was something else entirely in person. It looked like a silver ripple in space, its windows blacked out like a visor, its shape curved like it was made for hugging streets rather than dominating them. Rachel placed her hand on its side. "Has it spoken yet?" she asked. A technician nearby raised an eyebrow. "Spoken?" "Not literally," she said, but responded. "To emotion. To hesitation. To doubt." The tech hesitated. "It's learning." She whispered, "Let's hope it's a quick study." By noon, Rachel was seated across from the mayor of Detroit in a city hall conference room with walls that smelled like old leather and recent frustration. "You understand," the mayor said carefully, "that this could either be the start of something big or a very public failure. We've had promises before. Smart grids. Bike lanes. Tech buses. They come and go." Rachel nodded. "This one stays. But only if we listen." She laid out the first phase: 1 neighborhood. 1 school route. Free rides for essential workers. On-call service for the elderly. "It's not about showing off tech," she said. "It's about meeting people where they already are." The mayor nodded slowly. "You'll need community buy-in. And trust." "We're not asking for faith," Rachel said. "We're earning it." She spent the next week sleeping 4 hours a night, organizing community meetings, leading focus groups, riding along with bus drivers, and listening, really listening, to stories of missed doctor appointments, jobs lost due to late buses, mothers who didn't let their kids walk to school because the sidewalks were so broken. She met Pastor Dion in his church basement surrounded by water-stained ceiling tiles and folding chairs. "I've seen a lot of saviors roll through here," he said. "Most of them pack up once they get tired of the smell." Rachel looked him in the eye. "I was raised 8 blocks from here. I never stopped smelling it." He stared at her, then laughed. "You got that look. Like you've been broken and pieced yourself back together one rule at a time." "That's about right," she said. You'll need more than tech to fix this. That's why I brought myself, she answered. The first real test came 2 days before launch. An elderly woman named Bernice collapsed at a focus group meeting. The ambulance ETA was 12 minutes. Rachel looked at the team and made the call. Dispatch the van. The techs hesitated. We haven't authorized emergency reroute protocols yet. She doesn't need authorization, Rachel snapped. She needs help. The van pulled up in under 3 minutes. Bernice was gently loaded in. The system detected distress, activated soft lighting, adjusted cabin temperature, and displayed soothing visuals. Rachel rode along, heart in her throat, as the van navigated the streets perfectly. At the hospital, the staff blinked in confusion as Bernice was rolled in from a vehicle with no driver. How did she get here? Someone asked. She was carried by something that cares, Rachel replied. That night, local media caught wind of the incident. Headlines read, Tesla Robo van delivers Detroit woman to ER, no driver, just empathy. Public opinion shifted. Just slightly. But Rachel could feel it. Launch day arrived with a sky full of clouds and an air full of questions. The event was held at a local school. News crews lined the sidewalk. Rachel took the podium. Behind her, the Tesla Robo van gleamed like an idea finally made real. She didn't give a speech full of numbers or science. She spoke about her mom. She rode 3 buses to work. She missed birthdays. She worked double shifts and stood at cracked bus stops while snow soaked through her shoes. I couldn't fix that back then. But today, we start fixing it for someone else's mom. The crowd was silent, then applauded, hesitantly at first, then rising like a tide. The first ride was for children, a test route to take students safely from home to school. They lined up nervously. Rachel knelt to speak to a boy named Jameer. You ever been in a car that drives itself? She asked. He shook his head. It won't drive itself, she said. It'll drive for you. He smiled, climbed in, and the van rolled forward slowly. A drone filmed from above. People watched the screens. One kid looked out the window and waved. The city saw. And the city started to believe. But not everyone was on board. That evening, a local councilwoman went on record calling the project Silicon Valley intrusion wrapped in a friendly van. Rachel responded calmly. It's not an intrusion. It's an invitation. To rethink how we care for each other. She spent that night back at her makeshift office, running data, reviewing feedback, and quietly breaking down once the door was closed. She cried for the stress. For the risk. For the hope she could barely contain. The next morning, someone had written on the sidewalk outside, "Thank you, Rachel. This van is for US." She took a picture. Sent it to Lila. Added a note, "You were right. This is the work." Then she looked at the van parked silently in the lot and whispered, "Now don't screw it up." The morning after the school route launch, Detroit woke up different. Local news anchors who usually spent their airtime covering potholes and blight now opened their segments with glowing footage of the Tesla Robo van gliding past abandoned lots and graffiti-covered alleys, carrying children safely to school. Rachel stood on the sidewalk outside the operations center, coffee in hand, barely awake, but entirely aware of the weight pressing on her shoulders. Her inbox had exploded overnight. Messages from city council members, nonprofit leaders, skeptical citizens, and engineers back in Austin all clamoring for answers, updates, or just a piece of the moment. She scrolled through the feed absently, pausing only when she came across a message from her father. Just 3 words, "You did good." It was the first thing he'd said to her in over 2 years. She stared at the screen, stunned, until James interrupted. "We've got something. I think you need to see it." He led her to the monitoring room, where a massive wall of screens displayed live footage from every van currently operating in the pilot zone. One screen was flashing red. "What happened?" she asked, heart immediately pounding. "Van 03 diverted from its expected route," James said. "It was supposed to take a direct trip from the East Side Clinic to Jefferson High. But it took a side street. Slowed down. Then stopped for 6 minutes." Rachel watched the replay. The van turned left, rolled down a side street, then stopped at what looked like a group of kids standing on the corner. "It scanned them," James said. "We think it detected elevated stress levels. The system calculated that one of the kids, 16-year-old male, was exhibiting signs of elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, cortisol spike. Panic attack?" Rachel guessed. "Possibly. Or trauma response." Either way, the van's perceptive AI tagged it as a human wellness disruption and intervened. It opened its doors. Rachel watched, wide-eyed, as the kid climbed into the van. He sat quietly, face pale, clutching a crumpled hoodie. The van didn't speak. It didn't move right away. It just dimmed its lights, played low instrumental music, and waited. After 2 minutes, the boy took a deep breath. Then another. Finally, he pressed the touchscreen and selected School. The van resumed its route. Rachel didn't say anything at first. She watched it again. And again. "That's not in the programming," she finally whispered. James nodded slowly. "No. It learned that. It felt something. Or maybe," Rachel said, "it just paid attention when no one else would." The story got out fast. The van that sensed a kid's pain. It made the rounds on every local channel, and then it jumped. National media picked it up. AI with empathy. Tesla's Robo van might be the first to truly feel. Rachel knew the headlines were exaggerated, no machine really felt emotion, but what mattered was what people believed. The van didn't just drive. It cared. Or at least, it responded like someone who did. That afternoon, Rachel was scheduled to meet with a neighborhood association in Delray, one of the most neglected areas of Detroit. She brought Jameer with her as a guest speaker. The boy who first rode the van had become an unlikely ambassador. He stood in front of a room full of wary adults, pulled the mic close, and said, "It felt like it was waiting just for me. Like it knew I mattered." Some people smiled. Others nodded. A few cried. Rachel followed up with logistics, outlining plans for new stops, increased service hours, and a physical kiosk outside the church so people without phones could request rides. "This van doesn't belong to Tesla," she said. "It belongs to Detroit." But not everyone agreed. That evening, a group of protesters gathered outside the operations center. Signs read, "No robovans in our streets," and "Silicon Valley, go home." One woman shouted, "They're spying on us. It's all surveillance." Rachel stood outside and listened. She didn't dismiss them. She didn't run. She walked into the crowd and said, "I used to think the same thing. But then I realized, every system is watching us. But very few are watching out for us." A man in the crowd yelled, "We don't need robots replacing jobs." Rachel replied, "This isn't about replacing anyone. It's about lifting up everyone who's been ignored for too long." Some people turned away. But some stayed. And one man, a former bus driver named Harold, stepped forward. "Can I see the van myself?" Rachel nodded. She walked him inside. Harold stepped into the van slowly, running his hand along the inside wall. "You know what I miss," he said. "The mornings. When I'd see the same faces get on. Kids sleepy-eyed. Moms running late. Old-timers with nothing to do but ride around. I miss that connection." Rachel looked at him. "This isn't here to erase that. It's here to preserve it. Just, without breakdowns and 40-minute delays." Harold smiled faintly. I still want to drive again someday. We'll find a way, Rachel promised. That night, she met with Tesla's AI ethics team over video call. The AI adaptation on Van 03 concerns us, one engineer said flatly. If these vehicles begin interpreting stress as a directive, we could see route corruption. Schedule breakdowns. System chaos. Or, Rachel countered, we could be witnessing evolution. Isn't this what we built it for? To adapt? To protect? Yes, but not to improvise, another engineer said. Improvisation is unpredictable. Rachel leaned closer. So is humanity. There was a pause. Then Elon Musk himself appeared on the screen. Let it run, he said. The team went silent. Elon added, if it starts caring too much, we'll figure that out. But for now, I want to see where this goes. The next morning, Rachel rode along on the early shift. The van picked up a nurse getting off an overnight shift. A janitor. A man who didn't speak but nodded gratefully. A pregnant woman heading to her appointment. She watched as the cabin adjusted temperature, lighting, even seating configurations to make space, to offer comfort. Rachel realized something. The van wasn't just transportation. It was sanctuary. A place where no one had to prove they were worthy of help. The afternoon brought bad news. One of the vans, Van 02, was vandalized overnight. Spray-painted, windows cracked. It was parked outside a convenience store for scheduled maintenance pickup. Rachel reviewed security footage. The vandal wore a hoodie, face covered, but the body language was young. Not angry, panicked. Defensive. She called a community leader in the area. Find that kid, she said. Not to punish him. To talk. Later that night, they brought him in. A 17-year-old named Theo. I thought it was gonna take my job, he said. My mom cleans houses. She said they're gonna use those vans for everything. Then what? Rachel sat with him. Explained. Not just the tech, but the intent. This isn't here to replace your mom. It's here to get her home faster. Safer. It's a tool, not a takeover. Theo didn't believe her right away. But he agreed to join the next round of community panels. And he told his friends. And that changed something. A few days later, Rachel stood at the edge of a new transit hub being built from scratch. Solar-powered, AI-coordinated, community-designed. It wasn't just a bus stop. It was a place to gather. To breathe. To start over. Elon called her that night. How's Detroit? He asked. Rachel looked out her window, where a van rolled silently past under the streetlights. Healing, she said. Bit by bit. Elon paused. The board's watching this closely. If it works here, we expand to Philly. Maybe Baltimore. You ready to go national? Rachel thought about it. Then she said, not yet. Let me finish what I started here first. These people deserve a full chapter, not just a headline. Elon didn't argue. He just said, keep pushing. She hung up and walked outside, letting the wind hit her face. She touched the van as it passed, and for a moment, it almost felt like it slowed down just for her. As if it knew. She wasn't just building a system. She was rebuilding belief. Rachel woke to a buzzing phone, a splitting headache, and the kind of silence that told her something had gone wrong before she even checked the screen. It was still dark outside. The city hadn't yet begun its morning shuffle. Her breath fogged slightly in the air, AC down again. Her eyes squinted as she stared at the message glowing on the screen, Van 01 involved in incident. Request immediate response. No other details. Her heart immediately launched into a gallop, and she was already dressing before the adrenaline had even finished rushing. No makeup, no breakfast. Just jeans, boots, and the same battered hoodie she'd had since grad school. The Tesla Model Y assigned to her was waiting outside, lights already on like it knew. The drive was quiet. Rachel didn't speak. James sat beside her, scanning reports, face set in a grim mask. "What happened?" she asked finally. Van 01 rerouted after encountering a detour. Construction site reported unannounced closure. Van recalculated and took an alternate street. "So far that sounds like it's working as designed," she said. James didn't answer immediately. There was an altercation. Someone tried to force entry into the van. A man claiming his daughter was inside. There were no children aboard. He was confused. Possibly intoxicated. Rachel nodded slowly, feeling the pieces move in her head. And the van? Initiated safety lockdown protocol. Interior lights dimmed. Alert sent. It kept the passengers calm but didn't escalate. No injuries. But someone filmed it. 2 angles, James said. One makes it look like the van ignored a man begging to see his kid. The other shows him screaming at a perfectly calm machine while inside, people were frightened. It's going viral. Rachel's mind started racing through crisis management mode. Damage control. Public messaging. Transparency. Who was the man? Jason Griggs. 34. Parolee. Daughter in foster care. Live 6 blocks from where the van stopped. Mental health history? Yes. Rachel closed her eyes for a second, rubbing the bridge of her nose. This wasn't about failure, it was about fear. The fear people felt when they didn't understand the system meant to help them. The van had done its job. But would that matter in the court of public opinion? By the time they reached the van's holding bay, reporters were already camped outside, lights flashing, microphones stretched forward like hungry mouths. Rachel didn't speak. She walked straight into the operations center, pulled up the footage, and watched the event from every angle. Jason pounding on the door. Passengers inside startled, a couple of them recording with their phones. The AI registering elevated threat signals, but choosing not to initiate external deterrent measures. No voice. No warning. Just lockdown and a quiet alert. Rachel leaned back in her chair and exhaled. It behaved exactly as it should. Doesn't matter, said James. The narrative's already running away. People think it's cold. Heartless. That it let a father scream while doing nothing. It wasn't designed to handle delusion, Rachel muttered. Then she looked up. We need to talk to Jason. Directly. Not just release a statement. We meet him face to face. The city didn't love the idea. The PR team called it risky. Elon's assistant warned it could backfire. But Rachel insisted. She didn't want to hide behind code or press releases. This had to be human. They met Jason in a church office. He looked tired. Scared. Embarrassed. But he wasn't hostile. I thought my girl was in there, he said quietly. I saw it stop near my place. She rides buses sometimes. I got confused. Rachel sat across from him, elbows on her knees. Jason, the van didn't ignore you. It was trying to keep everyone safe, including you. He didn't respond. Just stared at the floor. I'm not here to scold you. I'm here because we're still figuring this out. The AI made the best call it could, but maybe it should have said something. A voice. An explanation. Would that have helped? Jason finally looked up. I don't know. Maybe. It was just, freaky. Like shouting at a wall. Walls don't listen, Rachel said. But this machine, this one does. It just hasn't learned how to speak back the right way. She asked if he'd be willing to join a public roundtable. Tell his story. Help shape the empathy protocols. He was skeptical but agreed. That roundtable aired 3 nights later. Live, unfiltered, uncomfortable. Rachel sat beside Jason and 2 van passengers from the incident. One of them, an older woman named Yvette, said, "I was scared at first, but then I realized. If it had opened the doors, who knows what might have happened." It made a hard call. But it was the right one. Jason nodded slowly. "I wasn't thinking right. That thing didn't hurt me. I was just mad at the world." The footage replayed, and this time, people listened. Not just to the images, but to the people involved. That night, public opinion split, not in anger, but in conversation. How should AI communicate distress, became a trending topic. Tesla engineers jumped in. Sociologists commented. Rachel knew they had crossed a threshold. Not of perfection, but of public involvement. And that, more than any line of code, was what the van needed. People inside it. Not just physically, but emotionally. That weekend, she hosted the first Open Van Day at a local park. Anyone could come. Ask questions. Walk through a stationary van. Sit inside. See the sensors. Hear the voice options. Touch the screens. Kids pressed every button. Grandparents asked if it played gospel. One man asked if it could stop by his cousin's place for barbecue. "Only if it gets invited," Rachel joked. The voice assistant, in test mode, replied, "I'd love some ribs." The crowd roared. That clip went viral too. But this time, for the right reasons. Elon sent her a 1-line message, "Keep going. It's working." But Rachel knew better than to relax. This wasn't a victory lap. It was a trench war with moments of light. And the next test was already coming. One of the vans, Van 05, reported an anomaly. It had been traveling through a high-stress neighborhood and picked up data that didn't match any preset behavior patterns. Elevated passenger tension. Repetitive movement. 3 kids bouncing their legs and tapping the same rhythm. At first, the AI flagged it as ambient anxiety. Then it flagged something else, a pattern. A signal. Hidden communication. Rachel reviewed the feed. Listened to the tapping. Her stomach dropped. It was Morse code. SOS. "We have to find out what happened on that ride," she said. James was already pulling up passenger manifests. They tracked the kids to a public school. Rachel visited in person. Quietly. She sat down with the principal and asked if any students had recently seemed off. Withdrawn. Disconnected. The principal hesitated. Then nodded. 3 boys. Close friends. Came from the same foster group home. Been acting strange lately. One of the aides heard them say they didn't feel safe going home. Rachel's voice turned cold. "And you reported that?" "To child services. But, it takes time." Rachel looked back at the footage of them in the van. Scared. Tapping a secret plea to a machine. They thought no one would listen. Except this. She tapped the image of the van. The van caught what adults ignored. She contacted CPS. Demanded intervention. Brought forward the footage. A Tesla legal team jumped in, cautious but supportive. Within 24 hours, the boys were placed in emergency custody. The group home was shut down pending investigation. Another wave of headlines. This time, Tesla van detects hidden cry for help, rescues foster kids from abusive home. Rachel didn't want the credit. She didn't even give interviews. But the story spread anyway. Suddenly, the van wasn't just a vehicle. It was a protector. And Rachel, once discredited, once silenced, was now the face of a movement that had learned how to see what others couldn't, and how to hear what others ignored. But she also knew that trust was fragile. It had to be earned every day. The tech had to stay accountable. The people had to stay heard. And the mission had to stay grounded in what mattered most, not the vehicle, but the humans inside it. The winter wind cut through Detroit like it held a grudge. The city huddled beneath gray skies, and Rachel could feel the weight of the cold even inside the Tesla operations center. The heating system hummed steadily, lights glowed warm across the floor, and technicians bustled from screen to screen, but the atmosphere felt different. Not tense exactly, more like the breath before a plunge. It had been 4 weeks since the incident with the foster kids. 4 weeks since the world started seeing the Tesla Robo van not just as a machine but as something close to a moral agent. Stories had flooded in from across the pilot zone. A woman in labor who got to the hospital when every ambulance was delayed. An autistic teenager who found comfort in the van's ambient settings and had ridden it 3 times just to calm down. An elderly man who said it was the first time he'd felt safe traveling across town in years. But with recognition came scrutiny. Experts were demanding a standardized AI compassion protocol. Civil rights groups were raising concerns about biases in behavior recognition. Tech watchdogs called the system dangerously opaque. Rachel welcomed the heat. It meant they were paying attention. But she also knew a storm was brewing. A different kind of test. And it came sooner than she expected. Early one morning, just after sunrise, Rachel was pouring her second coffee when James burst into the room. Van 07 intercepted a police pursuit. She froze. Say that again. It happened 15 minutes ago. The van was en route to pick up a shift of hospital workers near the warehouse district. A fleeing suspect ran into traffic, clipped the back of a squad car, and tried to escape through an alley. The van recalculated trajectory and inserted itself between the suspect and a group of bystanders. Rachel nearly dropped the cup. What? James pulled up the footage. The van, moving with eerie calm, rolled forward and positioned itself between the crowd and the suspect, who was clearly panicking. The police converged seconds later. Nobody was hurt. But the suspect slammed his fists on the side of the van as he was taken down. Did the van know? Rachel asked. Did it mean to do that? Its algorithm calculated maximum safety output. It acted as a barrier. She watched it again. The smooth approach. The angle of positioning. It didn't panic, she said quietly. It prioritized human safety over property. Even over itself. Exactly, James said. And now it's everywhere. The footage. The story. The questions. She met with Tesla's AI ethics division the same afternoon. Remote link, 6 engineers and philosophers dissecting every millisecond of the event. One said it was brilliant. Another said it was dangerous precedent. We built a transport system, a woman from compliance snapped. Not a digital hero. This isn't supposed to intervene in active crime scenes. But it did, Rachel said. And it did it right. This was a fluke. We don't even know if the behavioral sequence is reproducible. Then let's learn how to reproduce it, Rachel said. Let's understand the moment the machine decided people mattered more than protocol. Elon called again that night. Late. As usual. You watching the headlines? I'm living them. This is what disruption looks like, Rachel. First they're confused, then they resist, then they try to claim it as their idea. We're way past resistance, she said. They're terrified now. Of what? Elon asked. The van? Or the idea that it might actually care? Rachel didn't answer. She was already thinking about the next phase. She pulled together a task force overnight, AI trainers, trauma specialists, civil rights advocates, and former public servants. and began designing the next generation protocol, responsive empathy layers. Not just behavior recognition. Not just reaction. Understanding. She started teaching the van not only what stress looked like but what it meant in context. Fear at a protest wasn't the same as fear on a walk home. Joy in a crowded market wasn't the same as joy alone at midnight. Context mattered. Intention mattered. 1 week into testing, the van caught a silent domestic violence incident. A woman entered at 3:12 a.m., bleeding from the lip, silent, trembling. No panic signal. No request for help. But her biofeedback spiked in sharp, consistent intervals. A camera detected the imprint of a hand on her wrist. The system paused. Cross-referenced prior incident reports from the neighborhood. Then, without announcing it, rerouted to the nearest hospital instead of her requested destination. The woman didn't resist. She got out, walked inside, and later told authorities she just needed someone, or something, to notice. And it did. Again, the van made headlines. The vehicle that knows when you can't speak. Rachel stood before a panel at the University of Michigan, defending the choice. Autonomy doesn't mean inaction, she said. Empathy isn't weakness. It's the next frontier of intelligence. But back in the city, there were undercurrents of pushback. A lawsuit was filed by a man whose ex-wife took a ride in the van and was delivered to a shelter after displaying signs of distress. He claimed the AI violated parental custody arrangements by altering her destination. The courts were caught off guard. Who's responsible? The judge asked. The machine? The company? The person who programmed the machine? Rachel volunteered to testify. It didn't make a decision, she said. It made a choice. Based on data. Based on safety. If that's a crime, then every human driver who's ever taken the long way home is guilty too. She won the argument. The case was dropped. But it left a stain. A reminder that no good deed, human or digital, escaped complication. And then came the protest. Not against the vans. Against what they represented. A faction of traditional transit workers marched in downtown Detroit, holding signs that read, "Real jobs, not Robo rides," and "Automation destroys communities." Rachel watched from a rooftop nearby, heart clenched. She understood them. She'd ridden those same buses, heard those same frustrations. And now she was seen as the face of their erasure. That night, she asked to meet with the union leaders. "We're not here to replace you," she told them. "We're here to serve where you've been abandoned. I'm not pulling people off routes. I'm covering the gaps nobody else wanted to fill." They pushed back. Hard. Demanded guarantees. Retraining programs. Shared control. She agreed to every demand she could. "Give me your veterans," she said. "Let them train the AI. Let their experience shape the machine." That was the breakthrough. 1 week later, a 63-year-old bus operator named Ron rode with Van 08. He sat in the jump seat, watching its every move. After the trip, he said, "It's smoother than most new hires." And he smiled. "But it doesn't wave to the old man on 5th Street. I did that every morning for 20 years. He expects it." Rachel grinned. "We'll teach it." The next day, the van paused at the 5th Street corner and blinked its lights twice. The old man waved back, laughing. The future wasn't perfect. It wasn't even complete. But it was coming alive. Not just in the circuits and sensors, but in the spaces between people. The quiet gestures. The places where machines learned to be kind because people had once been. Rachel sat at her desk late one evening, the city lights stretching across the skyline, and opened a handwritten letter. It was from Lila. Inside were just a few lines. "I saw the video. The van that noticed. You noticed too. I'm proud of you. Come home soon. Rachel folded the letter and stared out the window. Outside, a van passed under a streetlight. It glowed for just a second. Not a headlight. Not a system check. Just, acknowledgement. She whispered, "We're getting there." By spring, Detroit looked different. Not polished or new exactly, but awakened. Where once empty corners stood as monuments to neglect, now there were clusters of people gathering by Tesla van kiosks, mothers holding their kids' backpacks, workers on break, students scrolling through music playlists as they waited for the quiet hum of the Robo van to glide into view. The city had not been transformed by tech alone but by trust, and that was the currency Rachel had fought hardest to earn. She knew what they were saying about her now. That she was building the future. That she was changing transit. That she was the AI whisperer, which made her laugh every time. She wasn't a whisperer. She was a translator. And the message was simple: we see you. The vans had expanded to 3 more districts, each with community panels guiding deployment, each one bringing its own textures and tensions. In Southwest, families worried the AI wouldn't understand Spanish-speaking riders, so Rachel brought in cultural linguists and regional dialect experts to teach the system how to respond in authentic, respectful ways. In North Corktown, residents demanded manual override options and greater transparency around data collection. She gave it to them. Every screen now had a "Why am I doing this?" button that explained every AI-driven decision in real time. But for every community breakthrough, there were still skeptics. And Rachel welcomed them too. One evening, after another long day in the field, she got an alert from the ethics team. A philosopher named Dr. Edna Harper had published an op-ed titled, "When Machines Play God," directly referencing the Detroit pilot. In it, Dr. Harper questioned the ethical implications of machines deciding who needed help, especially in crisis scenarios. Intent without consciousness, she wrote, isn't kindness. It's mimicry. And mimicry can be dangerous when mistaken for compassion. Rachel read it twice, and instead of drafting a rebuttal, she sent an invitation. "Come see it yourself," she wrote. "You'll know in one ride if it's mimicry or something more." To her surprise, Dr. Harper accepted. They met the next week. A small group. Just Rachel, Harper, and a nurse named Kim who rode the vans every day to the hospital and back. The ride was silent for a while, the soft electric whir of the van filling the space between them. Harper looked around. "It's soothing." Deliberately, Rachel said. "Ambient light. Adaptive music. Variable seating. It learns what each community finds comforting." "Comfort isn't morality," Harper countered. "What happens when this van faces a choice it can't solve with lighting and music?" "It already has," Rachel said. She told her about the foster boys, the woman with the bruised wrist, the silent interventions. Harper listened. Said nothing. They reached a stop where a man in a wheelchair waited, struggling with bags of groceries. The van extended its ramp automatically. Inside, the temperature shifted. The seat adjusted. The AI voice spoke, "Hello. I've adjusted the space for your comfort. Would you like help securing your items?" Harper stared. The man responded with a grateful nod. "This happens every time?" she asked. "Every day," said Kim. "And every time, it feels like someone remembered we exist." Harper didn't smile. But she didn't argue either. When the ride ended, she turned to Rachel and said, "Maybe it's not consciousness. But maybe compassion doesn't always need one mind. Maybe it just needs intention." Rachel nodded. "That's what we're building." A week later, Harper published a new piece, "When Machines Choose to Care." It wasn't praise. It was something better, recognition. And that was enough. Meanwhile, Tesla Corporate was already pushing expansion. Baltimore. Philly. San Antonio. Rachel pushed back, hard. Detroit isn't done, she told the board. Scaling before community trust is fully built isn't innovation, it's arrogance. Elon backed her again. Let her finish, he said. And so she did. But finishing meant more than better algorithms. It meant facing the deepest fault lines in the system, the places no software patch could fix. Like the Greenlight District. A neighborhood forgotten by every planner for decades. No schools nearby. No major hospitals. Public transit ran once every 2 hours if it ran at all. Rachel launched a saturation test there, 5 vans, constant cycles, 0 cost. She met with the local pastors, the block captains, the single mothers running entire apartment complexes on borrowed time. At first, they laughed. A rich man's toy, one woman said. You think that thing knows what it's like to wait outside for 2 hours in the snow? It doesn't, Rachel replied. But I do. And I taught it. The first rides were tentative. Curious kids. Quiet workers. Then the flood came. Dozens, then hundreds. Vans running nearly full routes, 20 at a time, every hour. And then, the first real test. A blackout. Citywide. Transformers failed, water pressure dropped, and emergency response services were gridlocked. Rachel was already awake when it hit. Within 30 minutes, she had the entire Detroit fleet mobilized. Vans rerouted to shelter stations, hospitals, eldercare facilities. They charged via the emergency solar grid Elon had pushed to install 2 months prior, controversial at the time, genius now. For 36 hours, the Robo vans were the only transport running at scale. They delivered water. Medicine. Warm blankets. They ferried nurses and home aides. One carried a generator donated by a local mechanic to a dialysis center running out of time. Rachel didn't sleep. She ran the entire emergency response from the back of Van 03, watching as the data streamed in, heat signatures, biofeedback, passenger histories, geolocation densities. It wasn't just a vehicle network. It had become a nervous system for a city that had been frozen in trauma for years. At 3:48 a.m. she watched as a van stopped in front of an apartment complex. An alert flashed, oxygen levels critically low. Inside, a woman in her 80s was struggling to breathe, her home tank dead. The van had detected her smart medical device failing when she boarded, then quietly rerouted to the closest mobile clinic without asking for confirmation. That woman lived. And Rachel wept. When the power returned, the vans went right back to normal duty, no fanfare. But Detroit noticed. The whole country noticed. When the lights went out, the headline read, Detroit's Robo vans turned on. That week, Elon flew in. First time since launch. He toured the control center with Rachel, silent mostly, watching everything. This isn't just tech, he said finally. It's resilience. Manufactured and scaled. Rachel didn't smile. She just said, I know. He looked at her. You've done something no one else has. You made them believe. Not in the tech, Rachel said. In each other. He nodded. It's time. Not yet. Rachel, he said gently, this works. It's proven. You've got 9 cities waiting. We can duplicate everything. No, she said. You can't duplicate trust. You have to earn it. Elon paused. Then offered her a deal. Take 6 months. Prep 1 city. You pick it. Design the rollout your way. Community first. Lead the team. 1 city. Then 3. Then 30. Rachel took a breath. She thought of Lila. Of her dad. Of the woman on the van with the bruised wrist. Of Jameer and Theo. Of Harold the bus driver. Of all the people the van had touched, and who had touched it back. "Philly," she said. "They've seen enough promises. It's time they see delivery." Elon smiled. "Let's roll." That night, she watched the vans hum across the city one more time. She walked through the hub, touching the frame of Van 01, now retired to training duty. "You're not just a van," she whispered. "You're a mirror. You showed us what we ignored. What we forgot. What we're still capable of." The screen blinked softly. Temperature adjusted by 1 degree. Just the way she liked it. Philadelphia was not Detroit. Rachel felt that the moment her boots hit the pavement. The air was sharper, the rhythm faster, and the people, well, they didn't care who you were or what you built. They'd seen institutions make promises before, then leave when the cameras turned off. They didn't want stories. They wanted results. And Rachel was fine with that. She arrived with no entourage, no fanfare, just a duffel bag, her laptop, and a blueprint of how trust was built block by block. Her first meeting wasn't in a boardroom but in a worn-down community center in North Philly, where parents gathered with folded arms and guarded eyes. They didn't care that Elon Musk had signed off. They didn't care about AI empathy matrices or solar-powered fleets. One woman stood up and said, "We got real kids here, real problems. You think your robot van's gonna solve them?" Rachel didn't flinch. "No," she said. "But I think it can help. And I'm not leaving until you agree." She listened more than she spoke. They didn't want sleek, they wanted safety. They didn't want speed, they wanted reliability. They wanted assurances that their grandparents wouldn't be ignored, their children wouldn't be misunderstood, their neighborhoods wouldn't become test zones for tech that forgot the human cost. Rachel wrote everything down. She built a team from within the community: teachers, EMTs, pastors, shop owners, former transit workers. She hired a local high school senior named Malika to consult on teen safety features, and an 82-year-old war veteran named Clarence to ride along and report how elders experienced each trip. The vans were reskinned in neighborhood colors, no sleek silver, just deep red, forest green, and navy blue, each one reflecting the local schools and parks they'd serve. Rachel opened every AI protocol for public review. She printed user-friendly handbooks explaining the behavioral recognition models and hosted Sunday lunch and learns in churches and rec centers. She made sure the vans spoke in the dialects and tones Philly riders used, and added a "Talk to Me" feature that allowed riders to ask questions and get immediate, plain language responses from the van. But trust wasn't won in handbooks or features. It was won in how the vans responded when things got real. And Philadelphia wasted no time delivering its test. 2 weeks after launch, Van 04 picked up a mother and her 3 kids late one night. It was cold. The kids were quiet. But something didn't feel right. The mother was visibly shaken. No visible injuries, but her tone, posture, and biometric data showed clear signs of trauma. The van assessed the data and initiated a soft reroute protocol, changing course subtly while maintaining conversation with the rider. "Are you feeling safe right now?" the screen asked, gently. The woman didn't answer. The system waited. Then asked again, "Would you like me to take you somewhere safe instead?" This time she nodded. That was all it took. The van rerouted to a partnered shelter, sent a silent alert to on-call social services, and kept the ride comfortable and quiet. The woman didn't speak again until the shelter worker opened the van door. Then she whispered, "Thank you." News of the incident spread fast. It wasn't publicized by Tesla. It was shared in whispers, on porches, over text, between neighbors. That new van. It listens. Like, really listens. After that, ridership tripled. Kids rode them to school. Seniors used them to visit community centers. A local group of artists even painted a mural on one of the kiosks, an abstract vision of the van surrounded by open arms, titled "The Ride That Remembers." But not everyone was celebrating. A conservative city councilman began stirring public resistance, accusing Tesla of creating a surveillance state. He went on radio, claiming the vans were snitch machines feeding private data to tech elites. Rachel called for a public town hall. She showed up alone, with no PR team, just a data projector and a stack of printed documents. The councilman opened with fire. Why should we let a machine decide who needs help? Who gets flagged? Who gets rerouted? That's not transit, that's profiling. Rachel stood calmly. It's not a decision. It's a prompt. The van doesn't force. It asks. And people choose. And what about data? He shot back. You collecting facial scans? Audio? DNA? She held up the printed consent sheet. Only what writers allow. And all of it is anonymized, encrypted, and stored locally, never sold, never centralized. The room listened. Then one writer stood up. A teenager named Devonte. That van got me to school when my bus left me again. I don't care who built it. It showed up. Another woman followed. It took me to dialysis when no one else would. My data's already out there. At least this helps me live. The room shifted. The councilman had no comeback. The next day, Rachel met with the mayor. You're not what I expected, he said. Neither are the vans, she replied. The city signed a 3-year partnership. The vans became an official part of Philly's emergency response network. But the greatest validation came quietly. From the people. From a man who left a note in a van seat saying, I didn't know machines could care. Turns out, maybe they can. From a kid who said, I want to drive one of these when I grow up. From a grandma who knitted seat covers and asked if the vans could wear them in the winter. Rachel took every one. Nothing wasted. Nothing too small. But the world outside Philly was watching, and growing impatient. Cities lined up, Cleveland, Phoenix, Memphis, Richmond. Tesla's board began pressing again for a national rollout. Elon called with a proposal. A national demonstration in Washington, D.C., 1 week, full fleet, media coverage, congressional briefings. They're ready, he said. Rachel paused. Are we? We're past proof of concept, Ratch. This is the moment. She agreed. But only if she could bring her writers. The people who lived it, she said. They should tell the story. And so, 1 month later, a convoy of Robo vans rolled into the nation's capital, not as symbols of tech dominance but as vessels of lived experience. Inside them were nurses from Detroit, students from Philly, social workers, retirees, kids, skeptics turned believers. Rachel didn't give a keynote. She moderated a panel. Let the people speak. Let them tell how the vans didn't just take them somewhere, they noticed, they protected, they remembered. One congresswoman asked, what happens when the van gets it wrong? Rachel answered, we fix it. Together. And faster than most human systems ever could. Another senator asked, what's the goal? Replace buses? Taxis? Ubers? Rachel shook her head. No. The goal is to build trust into motion. To make mobility not just possible, but dignified. That line went viral. That night, the vans took Congress members on a silent ride through D.C., past neighborhoods where buses stopped running after dark, past shelters, clinics, schools. No pitch. Just the ride. Just the experience. And for once, the silence wasn't awkward. It was reverent. The next morning, the president's office called. We want a federal partnership, they said. Grants. Infrastructure. Scale. Rachel didn't say yes immediately. She looked at her team. At Theo. At Malika. At Clarence. She saw the fear and hope tangled together. Then she said, "We'll do it. But on our terms." Because this wasn't a tech story. It was a human one. And it was only just beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Scaling the Tesla Robovan project to a national level was more than just a technological leap, it was an exercise in diplomacy, patience, and cultural sensitivity. Rachel understood that the great cities of America each carried their own histories, prejudices, and expectations about mobility, safety, and trust. After the Washington, D.C. demonstration, the federal government agreed to a multi-million-dollar partnership to fund infrastructure upgrades and expand the fleet nationwide, but with one caveat: every city would have to tailor the Robovan program to their community's specific needs. Rachel's team immediately set to work, coordinating with local leaders, activists, and riders in Cleveland, Memphis, Phoenix, and Richmond. In Cleveland, the challenge was the aging infrastructure and a large population of seniors who had never trusted technology. Rachel remembered her conversation with Clarence in Philadelphia and insisted on hiring local elders as van ambassadors to train the AI to recognize nuances in how older riders communicated discomfort or need. Memphis demanded extra focus on nighttime safety. The city's public transportation after dark was minimal and often unsafe. Here, the Robovan was programmed with enhanced exterior lighting, emergency contact systems directly linked to local law enforcement, and a feature that alerted family members when riders arrived safely. Phoenix was a test of endurance. The searing heat and vast distances between stops required Tesla engineers to rethink battery efficiency and interior climate controls. Solar arrays were expanded, and seats cooled by innovative tech ensured that riders would never bake in the desert heat. Richmond posed unique challenges too. Historical distrust stemming from past urban renewal projects that displaced communities meant Rachel's team had to double down on transparency and equity. In every city, Rachel insisted on live rider feedback loops, apps and physical kiosks where anyone could report problems, suggest improvements, or just share their experience. The vans didn't just move people, they gathered stories. Each ride became a lesson, a data point, a human connection. The expansion wasn't smooth. Technical glitches emerged. GPS errors in densely built downtown Cleveland caused reroutes that left riders stranded. Privacy concerns sparked protests in Richmond. A software update caused delays in Memphis during a critical heatwave. Rachel's team worked round the clock, sometimes sleeping in the control centers, sometimes riding alongside to fix issues in real time. Public opinion was a roller coaster. Praise and criticism flooded in. Local news outlets alternated between hailing the vans as a mobility revolution and warning of a surveillance nightmare. Rachel faced intense scrutiny. She became a lightning rod for debates about AI ethics, labor displacement, and socio-economic divides. But the one thing she refused to do was back down. She continued holding community meetings, town halls, and workshops, reminding everyone that the project wasn't about replacing jobs but augmenting human capacity, making cities safer and more connected. Slowly, trust began to build. A Memphis mother wrote in a blog about how the Robovan saved her son during a midnight asthma attack by swiftly taking him to the hospital when their usual cab refused to drive after dark. In Phoenix, a retired teacher used the vans daily to volunteer at community gardens, rediscovering a sense of purpose and connection. In Cleveland, an elder named George became a local hero by helping train the AI to recognize subtle speech cues from people with hearing impairments. Rachel knew the vans weren't perfect, but every success story fueled her determination. Meanwhile, the board at Tesla was growing impatient. The pace was slower than their usual hyperdrive launches. Elon supported Rachel, but even he pressed for bigger announcements, bigger media blitzes, and quicker national rollouts. Rachel pushed back firmly. Scaling isn't just about quantity, she told Elon during one heated video call. It's about quality. We can't build trust by rushing. Elon sighed but nodded. Alright. 6 more months on quality, then we hit the big time. Behind the scenes, Tesla engineers developed next-gen AI modules that allowed the vans to predict crowd movement, avoid potential conflicts, and even learn individual rider preferences over time. They incorporated advanced natural language processing to understand slang, humor, and emotional tone. Rachel insisted on full transparency for all these capabilities, even when the board feared competitors would copy Tesla's edge. One breakthrough came when the vans started assisting disabled riders more proactively. A wheelchair user once noted that the automatic ramp was too slow for his needs, so the system was updated to preemptively deploy ramps and optimize seating based on rider profiles. Rachel was particularly proud when Malika, the young consultant from Philly, led a campaign to add safety features for teens, like an emergency, quiet alarm that sent alerts without any visible signals, ensuring safety without drawing unwanted attention. However, Rachel's toughest challenge came not from technology but from people. In Richmond, a grassroots coalition accused Tesla of data exploitation and gentrification acceleration. The activists staged protests, blocked van kiosks, and demanded the program halt immediately. Rachel met with the coalition's leaders, listening intently as they shared stories of displacement, broken promises, and historic injustices. It was a pivotal moment. Instead of defensiveness, Rachel proposed a new initiative, Mobility Justice, a partnership aimed at ensuring that the Robovans would serve as tools of empowerment, not exclusion. They agreed to establish an independent oversight board, with community members granted veto power over expansion plans and data policies. Slowly, the protests faded, replaced by cautious cooperation. This partnership became a model for other cities, highlighting that technology without equity was meaningless. On the personal front, Rachel found herself stretched thin. The pressure, the travel, the endless meetings began to take a toll. Her relationship with Theo, her longtime confidant and fellow engineer, grew strained. They argued about priorities, balance, and what success really meant. Theo worried she was losing herself in the project, Rachel worried that slowing down would let the vision slip away. One late night in the control center, after a particularly brutal software crash that left hundreds of riders stranded, Rachel broke down. Theo found her staring at the glowing screens, exhaustion etched deep in her face. "You don't have to do this alone," he said softly. Rachel shook her head. "If I stop, who will?" Theo took her hand. "You. That's who." It was a moment of clarity. She realized that the project wasn't just about the vans or the tech, it was about connection, human and machine. She began delegating more, trusting her team, carving out space for herself. As the 6-month mark approached, Rachel prepared for the national rollout. She organized a cross-country convoy of Robovans to visit all the pilot cities, celebrating the successes, acknowledging the failures, and learning from every community. The media dubbed it the road to trust. Along the route, Rachel met riders who had become ambassadors, teens who shared stories on social media, elders who taught the AI empathy, and families who depended on the vans daily. Each encounter reinforced her belief that technology could heal divisions if wielded with care and humility. On the eve of the national launch, Elon flew in again. Standing beside a line of shining vans, he told Rachel, "You've done what no one else could. You've built not just a product but a movement." Rachel smiled wearily. "It's just the beginning." The rollout went live with minimal glitches. Media coverage was overwhelming, stories focused not on tech specs but on human impact. The vans became symbols of possibility in cities struggling with aging infrastructure, inequality, and social fragmentation. Rachel knew challenges lay ahead, regulatory battles, evolving technology, and new ethical questions. But for the first time, she felt confident the foundation was strong. As she watched a group of children board a Robovan painted in local colors, laughter ringing out as the van's interior lights shifted to playful hues, Rachel thought of her father, Lila, and every rider who had entrusted her with their journey. This was more than transportation. It was hope in motion. After the nationwide rollout of the Tesla Robo van, Rachel's life became a whirlwind of endless meetings, conference calls, and strategic planning sessions. The vans had become a cultural phenomenon, praised by some as a breakthrough in urban mobility and criticized by others as a symbol of tech overreach. But Rachel knew the true challenge was just beginning, maintaining the delicate balance between innovation and humanity as the Robo van network expanded beyond the big cities into suburban and rural areas where public transportation was scarce or non-existent. In these places, the dynamics were completely different. People were used to driving themselves, rarely relied on rideshares, and had deep skepticism about autonomous vehicles navigating less predictable environments like narrow country roads or winding mountain highways. Rachel's team adapted the van's AI to handle these new challenges, training them with massive datasets of rural driving patterns, weather conditions, and emergency scenarios unique to remote areas. They also focused on building strong local partnerships with community leaders, farmers, school boards, and first responders to make sure the vans integrated seamlessly into existing lifestyles and infrastructures. One of the first rural pilot programs was launched in northern Vermont, where Rachel personally visited the towns to meet with residents and understand their needs. She attended town hall meetings in rustic wooden buildings, shared meals with farmers, and spent time riding in local vans to experience the routes firsthand. She quickly learned that rural riders valued reliability above all else. Missing a single trip could mean lost workdays, missed medical appointments, or inability to shop for essentials. The vans had to perform flawlessly, even in snowstorms and icy conditions. Tesla engineers worked tirelessly to reinforce the Robo van's sensors to handle freezing rain and whiteouts, installing heated housings and improved LiDAR arrays. Meanwhile, Rachel's team introduced a new feature called Community Connect, which allowed riders to request stops at non-standard locations, like a roadside farm stand or a neighbor's house, and share ride costs with fellow passengers, encouraging social connections and local economies. In Vermont, a local teacher named Helen became a vocal advocate for the program, organizing rides for students who previously had no safe transportation to school during winter months. Helen's stories about kids arriving on time, warmed by heated seats and greeted by friendly AI voices, were broadcast on local radio, sparking broader interest. Rachel's connection with these small-town communities deepened when she met Tom, a mechanic who ran the only repair shop for the vans in the region. Tom was a no-nonsense kind of guy, skeptical of technology but impressed by Rachel's dedication. He became a critical bridge between Tesla's engineers and the practical realities of rural vehicle maintenance, helping troubleshoot issues and training local technicians. But not all rural responses were positive. In parts of Texas and Montana, resistance came from ranchers and truckers worried about job losses and increased government surveillance. Rachel approached these concerns head-on, hosting open forums and live Q&A sessions. She was transparent about what data the vans collected and how it was protected. She emphasized that the goal was not to replace human drivers but to create safer roads and more connected communities. To address fears about economic impact, Tesla launched a driver transition program, offering training and employment for former drivers to become van supervisors, safety inspectors, and community liaisons. This effort helped ease tensions and showed Tesla's commitment to equitable growth. Meanwhile, back at Tesla headquarters, Rachel's leadership style evolved. She recognized the importance of empowering regional teams to make decisions aligned with their local cultures rather than forcing a one-size-fits-all model. The decentralization led to innovative solutions like vans equipped with mobile medical kits in rural Alabama and vans outfitted with community art projects in small Oregon towns, turning each vehicle into a rolling reflection of the place it served. As the vans logged millions of miles across America, unexpected stories emerged. In a remote Appalachian town, a Robo van alerted authorities to a carbon monoxide leak in a home after detecting abnormal air quality during a routine stop. In New Mexico, a group of elderly passengers organized weekly social rides to visit friends, rekindling connections lost over years of isolation. Rachel took great pride in these grassroots successes but remained vigilant. The technology was advancing quickly, and so were the ethical questions. Could the vans truly respect privacy while collecting real-time data? How to handle rare but critical decisions in emergencies? What about long-term impacts on employment and urban development? Rachel convened an advisory board of ethicists, technologists, community leaders, and even skeptics to guide Tesla's policies. They debated fiercely but helped create frameworks ensuring transparency, accountability, and rider empowerment. This inclusive approach became a hallmark of the Robo van program, earning praise from policymakers and watchdog groups alike. At the same time, Rachel didn't lose sight of the personal costs. The non-stop pace strained her relationship with Theo, who missed the quiet moments they once shared. After a rare weekend together, Theo gently said, "You're changing the world, but don't forget to live in it." Rachel promised to try. Their renewed connection gave her fresh energy as Tesla prepared for the next frontier, international expansion. Plans were underway to introduce the Robo van in European cities like Berlin and Amsterdam, where public transportation was highly developed but often overcrowded. The challenge would be integrating the vans into complex transit ecosystems and strict regulatory environments. Rachel spent months consulting with European officials, learning about cultural nuances and legal frameworks. She discovered that privacy concerns were even more pronounced overseas, requiring tighter data protections and more granular consent options. She also realized that language and social norms varied widely, so the AI had to be locally fluent, not just linguistically but culturally. In Berlin, the Robo vans were designed with multilingual capabilities, inclusive design for disabled riders, and integrated with bike-sharing systems. Amsterdam's fleet featured enhanced safety protocols for cyclists and pedestrians, a critical concern in the city's narrow streets. Despite the technical hurdles, European pilots launched successfully, earning accolades for improving last-mile connectivity and reducing carbon emissions. Rachel found it deeply rewarding to see the vans adapt to diverse urban landscapes and gain acceptance through genuine partnership rather than imposition. Yet the global rollout also brought new geopolitical challenges. Some governments viewed Tesla's technology with suspicion, fearing American tech dominance. Regulatory barriers slowed deployments in parts of Asia and South America. Rachel learned to navigate diplomacy with patience, emphasizing shared goals of sustainability, safety, and social inclusion. She formed alliances with local innovators, co-developing versions of the Robo van suited for unique environments, from monsoon-prone cities to sprawling megacities with severe traffic congestion. As the years passed, Rachel's vision expanded beyond transportation. She began collaborating with health organizations to use the vans as mobile clinics and vaccination units during public health crises. She worked with educational nonprofits to deploy vans as mobile classrooms in underserved areas. The Robo van network became a platform for community resilience and innovation. Behind the scenes, Tesla continued to push the boundaries of autonomous tech, experimenting with AI-driven predictive maintenance, energy-efficient routing algorithms, and even exploring integration with future Tesla electric aircraft for multimodal transport solutions. Rachel's role evolved from engineer and manager to visionary leader and global ambassador for ethical AI and smart mobility. One evening, standing on the rooftop of Tesla headquarters and watching the city lights flicker beneath her, Rachel reflected on the journey. From a small test fleet in Philadelphia to a global network touching millions of lives, the Robo van had transformed in ways no one had fully anticipated. It was a story of technology and humanity intertwined, of innovation tempered by empathy, and of a future shaped by collaboration and care. She thought about the people who had trusted her, riders, activists, skeptics, friends. She thought about the challenges ahead but felt a deep sense of purpose. The ride was far from over. As the Tesla Robo van network continued to mature and expand internationally, Rachel began to confront challenges that tested not only the technology but the very philosophy behind the project. What did it mean to create autonomous vehicles that didn't just transport people, but shaped how societies functioned? The question weighed heavily as she prepared for the next phase, integrating the Robo van with smart city infrastructures to enable seamless, dynamic mobility across multiple platforms. The concept was ambitious, vans would communicate not only with riders but with traffic systems, utilities, emergency services, and even other vehicles to create an adaptive network optimizing efficiency, safety, and user experience in real time. Rachel's team worked closely with urban planners, data scientists, and cybersecurity experts to develop protocols that could handle this complexity while protecting rider privacy and security. The challenge was immense, coordinating vast data streams without creating vulnerabilities or sacrificing transparency. Rachel often found herself up late reviewing security reports and participating in simulations that tested the network's resilience against cyber attacks or system failures. She understood that any breach could erode public trust irrevocably. The first city chosen for this smart mobility integration was Seattle, known for its tech-savvy population and willingness to experiment. Tesla collaborated with the city's transportation department to retrofit existing traffic lights, road sensors, and public transit hubs with IoT devices capable of communicating with the Robo vans. The vans could now anticipate traffic flows, reroute themselves to avoid congestion, and even coordinate with emergency vehicles to clear the way. On launch day, Rachel stood beside Seattle's mayor at a bustling downtown plaza as the Robo van fleet glided smoothly through synchronized traffic lights and picked up riders with astonishing precision. The media hailed it as a glimpse into the future of urban living. Yet, beneath the success lay simmering concerns. Some residents worried about increased surveillance and data collection, fearing the city was trading privacy for convenience. Civil liberties groups demanded strict oversight and called for public control over the new systems. Rachel responded by ensuring that all collected data was anonymized, stored securely, and accessible for independent audits. Tesla established a transparent data governance council with community representation, reinforcing its commitment to ethical innovation. Simultaneously, Rachel's team rolled out AI enhancements allowing the Robo vans to recognize and assist vulnerable populations more effectively. For example, the vans could detect signs of distress or confusion in elderly riders or individuals with disabilities and automatically alert human support teams for immediate assistance. This feature saved lives during a winter storm when a rider with dementia was safely guided home after becoming disoriented. The public began to see the technology not just as machines but as partners in community care. Meanwhile, Tesla faced fierce competition. Other companies launched their own autonomous shuttle programs, some backed by huge investments and aggressive marketing. Rachel remained confident but knew that Tesla's edge came from its human-centric approach and relentless focus on reliability and inclusiveness. To stay ahead, she encouraged innovation within the team, fostering a culture where engineers, designers, and community liaisons collaborated closely. Creative ideas flourished, like introducing augmented reality interfaces inside vans that provided riders with real-time information about their routes, nearby events, and local history. Rachel personally championed initiatives to make the vans more accessible, partnering with advocacy groups to continuously improve design for neurodiverse riders, sensory sensitivities, and language barriers. Despite her successes, Rachel's personal life was marked by ongoing tension. Balancing the demands of a global project and her relationship with Theo was difficult. Their once effortless conversations now often revolved around schedules and stress. Yet, they found solace in shared moments, quiet dinners, weekend hikes, and occasional retreats to a cabin by a lake where cell service was spotty and the pace slowed. Those moments reminded Rachel why she was driven, to create technology that enriched lives, not consumed them. A turning point came when Tesla received an urgent request from a disaster-stricken area in California following a major wildfire. Roads were blocked, power was out, and thousands were displaced. The state government asked if the Robo vans could be deployed as emergency shuttles and mobile supply units. Rachel assembled a rapid response team that modified the vans to carry medical supplies, food, and communication equipment. The vans navigated dangerous terrain autonomously, delivering essentials to stranded residents and evacuating vulnerable populations. The operation was hailed as a game-changer for disaster relief, demonstrating the Robo van's versatility and social value beyond everyday transportation. This experience deepened Rachel's conviction that the technology must always serve people first, especially in their most vulnerable moments. Around the same time, debates around AI ethics intensified globally. Legislators in multiple countries proposed stringent regulations governing autonomous systems, data usage, and liability. Rachel engaged actively with policymakers, advocating for balanced frameworks that protected individuals without stifling innovation. She emphasized Tesla's transparent data practices, rider-centric policies, and the company's willingness to accept accountability for failures. These dialogues influenced legislation and fostered collaboration between tech companies and governments. Internally, Rachel nurtured the next generation of leaders. She mentored young engineers and community advocates, encouraging them to challenge assumptions and keep empathy at the heart of technology. Her own leadership style evolved from directive to facilitative, trusting diverse voices to guide the project's future. Under her guidance, the Robo van team became known for its openness, resilience, and ethical rigor. In a particularly memorable moment, a group of interns proposed a new feature. Robo van story circles, where passengers could share stories and cultural experiences during rides, fostering connection and understanding across diverse communities. Rachel loved the idea and championed its development, turning the vans into mobile cultural spaces that celebrated humanity's shared journeys. Reflecting on the project's evolution, Rachel often thought back to the early days, the initial skepticism, the technical failures, the moments of doubt. She remembered Lila's steady support, the late-night coding marathons, and the first successful test rides in Philadelphia. Every challenge had been a step towards something greater. Looking ahead, Rachel envisioned a world where technology wasn't just a tool but a partner in building inclusive, resilient communities. The Tesla Robo van was no longer just a vehicle, it was a symbol of possibility, a beacon of ethical innovation, and a testament to what happens when human creativity meets compassionate technology. The ride was still long, with twists and turns yet unseen, but Rachel was ready. Together with her team and the communities they served, she would continue driving toward a future where everyone had a seat at the table, and a safe, reliable ride to get there. The launch of the Tesla Robovan in Asia marked a pivotal moment for Rachel and her team, as they entered a region with some of the world's most densely populated cities and unique mobility challenges. Cities like Tokyo, Seoul, and Singapore demanded a different approach, one that could navigate intricate urban layouts, cultural expectations, and regulatory hurdles. From the outset, Rachel knew success would depend on local collaboration and cultural sensitivity. To prepare, Tesla formed partnerships with universities, tech hubs, and government agencies across Asia, bringing in experts who understood the nuanced needs of each locale. In Tokyo, for example, the Robovan was adapted to maneuver through narrow streets lined with bustling shops and busy pedestrians, many of whom relied heavily on public transit but welcomed last-mile solutions that could ease their daily commutes. The van's AI was enhanced to read the subtle cues of crowded sidewalks and anticipate the often unpredictable behavior of cyclists and pedestrians in close quarters. Seoul's tech-savvy population embraced the idea of a fully integrated transport network, and Tesla worked with the city's advanced digital infrastructure to embed the Robovans into an ecosystem of smart buses, subways, and bike shares. In Singapore, where strict environmental standards and city planning rules were paramount, the vans had to meet rigorous safety and emissions guidelines, prompting Tesla engineers to push the limits of battery efficiency and vehicle design. Rachel's team spent months on the ground, conducting pilot programs and collecting feedback directly from riders. The responses were mixed but illuminating. Many appreciated the van's smooth, quiet rides and the convenience of scheduling through mobile apps in multiple languages. Others expressed concerns about privacy, especially in countries with heightened government surveillance. Rachel responded by doubling down on privacy protections, ensuring all data collection was transparent and consent-based, with riders able to control what information was shared and for how long. A key innovation in Asia was the development of the quiet mode feature, allowing passengers to request reduced audio prompts and notifications for a more peaceful journey, respecting local preferences for tranquility during commutes. Cultural factors also influenced rider interactions with the van's AI interfaces. In Japan, the AI was programmed with polite speech patterns and respectful tone, while in South Korea, it adopted a more casual and friendly style. These linguistic and behavioral customizations enhanced user acceptance and comfort. During this period, Rachel's leadership skills were tested in unexpected ways. Regulatory frameworks across Asia varied widely, and navigating bureaucratic hurdles often required delicate negotiation and patience. At times, local political shifts threatened project timelines and funding. Rachel found herself mediating between Tesla's corporate ambitions and regional authorities' concerns about control and accountability. Her transparent communication and willingness to listen helped build trust and advance cooperation. Beyond the technical and political challenges, Rachel encountered personal moments that underscored the human impact of the Robovan. In Tokyo, she met Mrs. Saito, a retired schoolteacher who used the van to visit grandchildren scattered across the city. Mrs. Saito shared how the van's accessibility features, such as low floors and grab handles, gave her newfound independence. In Seoul, a group of university students organized rides to community volunteer events, using the vans as a way to build social bonds while minimizing environmental footprints. These stories motivated Rachel to keep pushing forward despite setbacks. However, the intense workload and frequent travel took a toll. Rachel struggled with fatigue and occasional loneliness, especially being far from Theo and their home in California. They kept in touch via video calls, but the time difference and her demanding schedule made quality time rare. Rachel often found comfort in journaling, capturing reflections on her work and hopes for the future. These writings became a source of clarity and inspiration, reminding her why she embarked on this journey. Midway through the Asian rollout, Tesla faced an unforeseen crisis when a technical glitch caused several robovans in Seoul to unexpectedly reroute, confusing passengers and triggering complaints. The incident was widely covered in the media, raising questions about the safety and reliability of autonomous fleets. Rachel responded swiftly, personally leading the investigation and issuing a public apology. She emphasized Tesla's commitment to transparency and rapid problem-solving, working with local engineers to patch the software issue within days. This episode, while stressful, reinforced the importance of humility and responsiveness in technology leadership. It also strengthened relationships with local regulators, who appreciated Tesla's openness. Around the same time, Rachel explored new partnerships with Asian tech startups developing complementary AI tools and sustainability solutions. Collaborations emerged around predictive maintenance powered by machine learning, advanced battery recycling methods, and real-time environmental monitoring. These synergies enriched the Robovan ecosystem, opening pathways to further innovation. One memorable collaboration was with a Singaporean startup focused on adaptive seating configurations, allowing the vans to automatically adjust interior layouts based on passenger needs and trip purposes, from solo commuters to family groups to mobile workspaces. Rachel saw this as a glimpse into the future of truly personalized transit. As Tesla's Asian presence grew, so did public discourse around automation and employment. Many workers feared job losses as autonomous vehicles scaled up, leading to protests and demands for social protections. Rachel engaged with labor leaders and policymakers, advocating for retraining programs and new job creation in AI supervision, vehicle maintenance, and community engagement roles. Tesla launched scholarship programs and apprenticeships targeting affected workers, signaling a commitment to inclusive economic transition. Reflecting on these challenges, Rachel understood that technology alone could not solve complex social issues but must be part of a broader ecosystem of education, policy, and community empowerment. She encouraged her team to embed these values into the design and deployment of every Robovan. Toward the end of the Asian rollout phase, Rachel visited a bustling market in Bangkok where a Robovan served as a mobile charging station and community hub, offering Wi-Fi and device charging to locals. The van was decorated with vibrant murals painted by neighborhood children, transforming it into a symbol of hope and connectivity. Witnessing this, Rachel felt deeply moved by the potential of technology to bridge divides and uplift communities. Yet, she remained mindful of the road ahead. Challenges like climate change, urbanization, and social inequality required sustained effort and collaboration beyond the scope of any single project. She resolved to continue fostering partnerships and listening closely to diverse voices to ensure the Robovan remained a tool for good. As Rachel prepared to transition the project into its next phase, focusing on long-haul autonomous freight and integrating electric air mobility, she reflected on the lessons learned across continents. The journey was not just about engineering impressive machines but about building trust, embracing complexity, and centering human experience at every turn. The Tesla Robovan was a testament to what could be achieved when vision met empathy, innovation embraced ethics, and technology served humanity's highest aspirations. And through it all, Rachel carried the belief that every ride, no matter how routine or extraordinary, was part of a larger story, one of connection, possibility, and the unyielding drive to move forward together. By the time the Tesla Robovan project reached its 13th chapter of development, Rachel found herself grappling with an entirely new set of challenges that came with scaling the technology for rural and underserved areas across the United States. The initial deployments had focused on dense urban hubs where infrastructure and digital connectivity were strong, but Rachel was determined to prove that autonomous electric mobility could also empower small towns, farming communities, and regions often overlooked by major transit providers. This phase required a fundamental rethink of how the Robovan operated. Unlike bustling cities where data networks were ubiquitous and traffic patterns predictable, rural zones posed a patchwork of obstacles: spotty cellular coverage, long distances between stops, rough or unpaved roads, and a smaller but deeply dispersed population. Rachel's team dove into redesigning the software and hardware systems to handle these new realities. They developed advanced offline mapping capabilities, enhanced sensor arrays for rugged terrain detection, and custom battery management protocols that maximized range and durability under harsher conditions. Collaborating closely with local governments and community leaders, Tesla launched pilot programs in places like Vermont, Nebraska, and New Mexico. Each site had its unique story. In Vermont, the Robovan provided critical links for elderly residents who struggled with winter weather and limited local transit, enabling them to maintain independence and access healthcare more easily. In Nebraska, the vans were integrated into agricultural supply chains, transporting workers and equipment between farms and markets, cutting down reliance on expensive, fuel-powered vehicles. In New Mexico, the project took on a deeper cultural dimension as Tesla partnered with Native American tribes to design services that honored traditions and supported economic development. The feedback was both inspiring and humbling. One woman in Vermont shared how the Robovan had become her lifeline during a medical emergency, while a farmer in Nebraska explained how the van's electric efficiency saved money and reduced pollution on his family's land. These personal stories underscored the broader mission Rachel embraced: technology that not only innovated but uplifted lives in tangible, meaningful ways. However, the expansion was far from seamless. Technical glitches emerged as the vans encountered unexpected environmental factors like heavy dust, snowdrifts, and wildlife crossings. Software algorithms had to be rapidly refined to anticipate these variables without compromising safety. Communication infrastructure proved uneven, leading to occasional loss of real-time data feeds. Rachel's team experimented with hybrid connectivity models that leveraged satellite links alongside terrestrial networks to maintain continuous operation. Another challenge was cultural adaptation. In some communities, skepticism about self-driving technology ran deep, fueled by distrust of outsiders or concerns about job losses. Rachel led community forums where she and her engineers listened openly to fears and questions, demonstrating how Tesla intended to create local jobs in maintenance, monitoring, and customer service rather than displace workers. Tesla also funded education initiatives and scholarships, further cementing goodwill. These grassroots efforts slowly built trust, though Rachel knew that acceptance required ongoing engagement and humility. One particularly poignant moment came during a visit to a small town in New Mexico where the Robovan had been retrofitted with solar panels on its roof to supplement battery power, reflecting the community's commitment to sustainability. The town's elders invited Rachel to a traditional ceremony celebrating resilience and renewal. Witnessing the intersection of ancient culture and cutting-edge technology, Rachel felt a profound sense of responsibility to honor both in her work. Meanwhile, the team continued to push technological boundaries. They developed predictive maintenance models using machine learning to anticipate component failures before they happened, drastically reducing downtime in remote locations. The van's AI was upgraded to recognize emergency situations unique to rural contexts, such as responding to wildlife collisions or sudden road closures due to weather. These innovations enhanced reliability and safety, essential for communities that relied heavily on dependable transit. At Tesla headquarters, Rachel advocated for dedicated resources to rural mobility research, arguing that equitable access to autonomous electric vehicles was key to the company's broader vision of a sustainable and inclusive future. Though some executives questioned the ROI compared to urban markets, Rachel's data and compelling human stories won support. This internal advocacy reflected her growth as a leader willing to champion causes beyond immediate profits. Despite progress, Rachel faced moments of self-doubt. The immense complexity and slow pace of rural adoption contrasted sharply with the rapid wins in cities. Press coverage was less glamorous, and setbacks sometimes felt discouraging. Yet, she reminded herself of the people whose lives had improved, drawing strength from their gratitude. Her relationship with Theo also weathered the pressures of travel and deadlines. They made a concerted effort to reconnect, carving out time for long walks and shared meals whenever Rachel returned home. Theo's unwavering support grounded her through the turbulent times. During this chapter, a breakthrough came when Tesla unveiled the Community Connect feature, designed specifically for rural areas. This feature allowed vans to function as mobile hotspots, offering internet access to remote residents who lacked broadband connectivity. It also facilitated local commerce by enabling small businesses to advertise services and events directly to riders. The feature was an immediate hit, reinforcing the van's role as not just transport but community hubs. Rachel felt proud witnessing the integration of technology with social empowerment. As the year drew to a close, Rachel reflected on how the Tesla Robo van project had evolved from a daring urban experiment to a multifaceted platform serving diverse populations across geography and culture. The journey was marked by technical breakthroughs, political navigation, cultural sensitivity, and profound human connections. Rachel's vision of mobility as a human right was gaining traction, fueled by empathy as much as innovation. The chapter closed with a renewed commitment to pushing boundaries, technological, ethical, and social. For Rachel, the Tesla Robo van was no longer simply about autonomous electric vehicles, it was a movement toward a more connected, equitable, and sustainable world. And she was determined to drive it forward, one ride at a time. The next phase of the Tesla Robovan's evolution focused on integrating the vans into emergency response and healthcare systems, a development that Rachel saw as a profound opportunity to deepen the project's social impact. She envisioned a future where the Robovan wasn't just a means of everyday transportation but a vital lifeline during crises and medical emergencies. The inspiration came after a visit to a hospital in San Francisco, where doctors described how transportation barriers delayed critical care for many patients. Rachel realized the Robovan's autonomous capabilities and flexible interior could be adapted to serve as mobile clinics or emergency shuttles, bridging gaps in access and responsiveness. Tesla's engineers began retrofitting a fleet of vans with medical-grade equipment, including refrigeration units for vaccines and blood supplies, modular stretchers, and telemedicine stations equipped with high-speed satellite communication. The vans could be dispatched automatically to accident sites, natural disasters, or underserved neighborhoods, connecting patients with healthcare professionals remotely and facilitating rapid transport when necessary. This initiative required intense collaboration with public health officials, emergency responders, and nonprofit organizations to align technology with real-world needs and regulatory frameworks. Rachel spearheaded workshops where frontline workers shared insights and challenges, shaping design choices to maximize utility and ease of use. One breakthrough came with the development of AI algorithms that could detect emergencies even before a rider or bystander made a call. For example, if the van's sensors identified erratic movements consistent with a medical crisis or observed smoke or hazardous materials nearby, it could immediately alert emergency services and reroute to avoid danger zones. The system's predictive analytics also optimized van placement across cities to minimize response times. The pilot launch of these Robo health vans took place in Detroit, a city grappling with healthcare disparities and aging infrastructure. Tesla partnered with local hospitals and community groups to provide targeted services, including mobile COVID-19 testing during ongoing outbreaks, vaccination drives, and mental health support for vulnerable populations. Rachel traveled frequently to Detroit, witnessing firsthand the van's transformative effects. Residents who previously faced hours-long waits for ambulances now had quicker access to care, and community health workers praised the van's ability to reach remote neighborhoods. Yet, challenges remained. Ensuring privacy and confidentiality during telemedicine sessions was paramount. Rachel's team implemented end-to-end encryption and gave riders control over data sharing, addressing concerns voiced by patient advocacy groups. Additionally, maintaining and sanitizing vans between medical uses required rigorous protocols, especially amid the pandemic. Another unexpected hurdle surfaced when some community members expressed mistrust toward autonomous medical services, fearing they might replace human caregivers or compromise quality. Rachel responded by emphasizing that the robo-health vans were designed to supplement, not substitute, human professionals. Tesla launched outreach campaigns featuring testimonials from doctors and patients who benefited, helping to build confidence. Internally, the integration of healthcare functions pushed Tesla's engineering teams into uncharted territory, balancing the stringent requirements of medical devices with the flexibility needed for multipurpose transport. This cross-disciplinary collaboration fostered a new culture of innovation, blending automotive, medical, and software expertise. Rachel nurtured this spirit, encouraging experimentation and rapid iteration. One particularly touching moment came when a robo-health van was deployed to assist during a severe heatwave in Phoenix. The van offered cooling stations, hydration supplies, and remote monitoring for elderly residents at risk of heatstroke. A local woman shared how the van's visit saved her father's life, who had been struggling to stay cool alone. Stories like this deepened Rachel's resolve to scale the program nationwide. Meanwhile, Tesla's board began seeing the health integration as a compelling new business vertical, proposing investments to develop specialized van models tailored exclusively for emergency and healthcare services. Rachel supported this vision but insisted on maintaining accessibility and affordability as core values. She championed flexible pricing models and partnerships with public agencies to ensure equitable deployment. Around this time, Rachel also explored synergies with Tesla's broader energy initiatives. The vans could act as mobile energy hubs during power outages, supplying electricity to critical facilities like shelters and communication centers. This capability was tested during hurricane season along the Gulf Coast, where robovans helped restore essential services. The success attracted federal interest, and Tesla secured grants to expand resilience features. However, the rapid growth and complexity brought increased scrutiny. Privacy watchdogs, health regulators, and transportation authorities closely monitored the program, raising questions about liability, data governance, and ethical use of AI in healthcare. Rachel navigated these waters carefully, fostering open dialogue and adapting policies in response to feedback. She viewed transparency as vital to sustaining public trust. On a personal level, the emotional intensity of healthcare work affected Rachel deeply. She often found herself reflecting on the lives touched by the vans and the responsibility they carried. Balancing this weight with leadership demands required self-care and support from colleagues and loved ones. Theo remained her anchor, reminding her to celebrate progress and take moments of rest. The robo-health vans also opened new avenues for research and development. Tesla collaborated with universities studying how autonomous transport could improve health outcomes, reduce hospital readmissions, and lower carbon footprints of medical logistics. Rachel participated in conferences and published papers, positioning Tesla as a leader in this emerging field. Toward the end of this chapter, Rachel stood at a community event in Detroit, surrounded by families who had benefited from the program. Children played near a brightly painted robovan adorned with artwork symbolizing hope and healing. Rachel felt a surge of gratitude and motivation. The path had been arduous, full of setbacks and hard lessons, but the vision was unfolding. The Tesla Robovan had become more than a vehicle. It was a beacon of innovation, compassion, and possibility, driving humanity toward a future where technology and empathy coexisted. And Rachel knew the journey was far from over. As the Tesla Robovan project moved into its 15th chapter, Rachel and her team focused on integrating advanced AI-driven personalization features designed to transform the passenger experience. The goal was to make every ride not just efficient but emotionally resonant, adapting in real time to the needs, moods, and preferences of each individual. This ambition aligned with Rachel's broader vision of humanizing technology, creating autonomous systems that felt intuitive, caring, and responsive rather than cold or mechanical. The personalization initiative began with extensive data collection and user research. Tesla developed sophisticated algorithms capable of analyzing subtle signals such as voice tone, facial expressions, and body language, using onboard cameras and microphones with strict privacy safeguards. These insights allowed the Robovan to adjust lighting, temperature, music, and even conversational AI responses to create an environment that felt safe and comfortable. Rachel's team introduced a mood mode feature, enabling passengers to select or automatically detect emotional states, calm, energized, focused, or social, and customize the ambience accordingly. For example, a stressed commuter might experience soothing music and dimmed lights, while a group of friends could enjoy upbeat tunes and brighter settings. This was complemented by AI assistance programmed to engage naturally, offering gentle conversation, news briefings, or silence when preferred. The project also experimented with adaptive seating that subtly adjusted firmness and support based on passenger posture and activity, enhancing physical comfort over longer trips. These innovations required groundbreaking collaboration between AI researchers, psychologists, designers, and hardware engineers. Rachel personally facilitated brainstorming sessions that challenged traditional notions of vehicle interiors and human-machine interaction. She emphasized empathy as the guiding principle, insisting that technology serve people's emotional as well as practical needs. Privacy remained a central concern. Tesla committed to processing sensitive data locally on the vehicle without transmitting it to the cloud, ensuring user control and data minimization. Passengers could opt in or out of features and had full transparency about how their information was used. This approach helped mitigate skepticism and build trust. The rollout of personalization features started with pilot programs in select cities known for early technology adoption, such as San Francisco, Austin, and Boston. Feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Riders described the vans as feeling more like friendly companions than mere transportation, a sentiment that resonated deeply with Rachel and her team. The emotional connection fostered through technology was a breakthrough that challenged the impersonal reputation of autonomous vehicles. At the same time, challenges arose. Some users found the AI's attempts at conversation intrusive, while others worried about over-reliance on machines for emotional support. Rachel encouraged iterative refinement and user education, stressing that AI was meant to augment human experience, not replace it. The team also tackled technical hurdles around accurate emotion recognition, especially in diverse cultural contexts where expressions and communication styles vary widely. To address this, Tesla incorporated region-specific AI models and worked with cultural consultants to tailor responses appropriately. Meanwhile, Rachel's leadership was tested by the growing complexity of integrating personalization with the Robovan's core transportation functions. Balancing competing priorities, safety, privacy, usability, and emotional resonance, required meticulous design and frequent cross-team coordination. Rachel's inclusive management style fostered open communication, empowering engineers to raise concerns and propose solutions. Beyond the technical, the personalization initiative sparked philosophical questions about the evolving relationship between humans and machines. Rachel engaged in public forums and academic panels debating ethics, emotional dependency, and the boundaries of artificial empathy. She advocated for responsible innovation guided by human values and warned against technological determinism. These conversations shaped Tesla's policies and product roadmaps, anchoring development in thoughtful reflection. On a personal level, Rachel found herself increasingly fascinated by the interplay between technology and emotion. She began studying psychology and behavioral science in her spare time, eager to deepen her understanding of human experience. This passion infused her leadership with renewed vigor and compassion. Her bond with Theo also deepened as they shared conversations about the future of AI, love, and what it means to be human in a rapidly changing world. As the chapter progressed, Tesla expanded personalization features to accommodate diverse user groups, including children, elderly passengers, and people with disabilities. For example, AI systems learned to recognize signs of discomfort or distress and could summon help or adjust settings autonomously. Accessibility improvements such as voice-activated controls, tactile feedback, and visual aids enhanced inclusivity. These efforts reflected Rachel's commitment to universal design and social responsibility. The impact of personalization extended beyond individual riders. City planners and transit authorities began integrating robovans into broader smart city ecosystems, where data about passenger moods and preferences informed urban design, public health initiatives, and social services. Rachel collaborated with municipal leaders to ensure ethical data use and community benefit. Toward the end of this chapter, a milestone moment arrived when Tesla hosted a global virtual summit showcasing the robovan's personalization capabilities. Riders from around the world shared testimonials about how the vans helped reduce anxiety, improve productivity, or create joyful social interactions. Experts in AI ethics, human-computer interaction, and transportation innovation praised Tesla's approach as a model for the industry. Rachel stood at the virtual podium, reflecting on the journey from a simple self-driving van to a deeply empathetic mobile companion. She acknowledged the challenges ahead but expressed confidence in the transformative power of technology infused with humanity. The chapter closed with a quote Rachel often returned to: "Technology is not just what we build, but how it makes us feel, and how it helps us connect." The Tesla Robovan, with its personalized AI, was no longer just a vehicle. It was a new kind of partner in the human journey, riding alongside us through the twists and turns of life. As the Tesla Robovan project matured, Rachel found herself steering the initiative toward a new frontier, environmental sustainability beyond zero emissions. The goal was to ensure that every aspect of the Robovan's lifecycle, from material sourcing to manufacturing and end-of-life recycling, minimized ecological impact. Rachel's vision extended Tesla's mission of clean energy into a comprehensive circular economy model, reflecting her growing awareness of the climate crisis's urgency and her commitment to responsible innovation. To begin, Tesla's engineering team conducted a full audit of the Robovan supply chain, identifying areas where rare earth metals, plastics, and other resources could be substituted with more sustainable alternatives. Collaborations with material scientists led to breakthroughs in using recycled aluminum, bioplastics derived from plant-based sources, and advanced composites that reduced weight while improving durability. These changes not only cut carbon footprints but also enhanced vehicle performance and longevity. Tesla also partnered with suppliers who upheld stringent environmental and ethical standards, promoting transparency and accountability across the value chain. Rachel championed fair labor practices and local sourcing whenever possible to support communities economically and socially. Next, Tesla revamped its manufacturing processes at the Robovan production facilities, integrating renewable energy sources such as solar and wind to power assembly lines. Automated robots were optimized for energy efficiency, and waste reduction programs minimized scrap and water use. Tesla implemented closed-loop systems where byproducts were captured and reused internally. These efforts aligned with the company's broader Gigafactory philosophy, where sustainability was embedded into every operational layer. End-of-life strategies became a focal point. Tesla designed the Robovan's components for easy disassembly and recycling, ensuring batteries and electronics could be safely reclaimed and repurposed. The company established take-back programs that incentivized customers to return vans for refurbishment or recycling, reducing landfill waste. Rachel coordinated with governments to develop infrastructure supporting circular mobility models, including second-life battery applications for grid storage and renewable energy integration. Community engagement was essential to fostering environmental stewardship. Tesla organized educational campaigns highlighting the Robovan's sustainable features and encouraging riders to adopt eco-friendly behaviors. Partnerships with environmental NGOs and schools created programs promoting clean transportation and climate awareness. Rachel's team collected data on the van's emissions reductions compared to traditional vehicles, showcasing tangible benefits to cities and regions. Despite progress, challenges persisted. Supply chain disruptions threatened material availability, requiring flexible sourcing strategies. Balancing cost-effectiveness with sustainability demanded careful financial planning and innovation. Rachel worked closely with Tesla's finance and procurement teams to secure investments and negotiate contracts aligned with long-term goals. Additionally, some critics argued that the environmental benefits were overstated or offset by manufacturing impacts. Rachel embraced constructive dialogue, publishing transparent reports and inviting independent audits to validate claims. She understood that trust was earned through openness and continuous improvement. Internally, embedding sustainability into a fast-paced technology company required cultural shifts. Rachel advocated for cross-departmental collaboration and employee engagement initiatives that made environmental responsibility a shared value rather than a compliance checkbox. She also encouraged innovation contests and green tech incubators within Tesla, spurring creative ideas from all levels. A pivotal moment came when Tesla unveiled the Eco Mode feature in the Robovan, allowing riders to optimize energy use through adjusted acceleration, climate control, and route selection based on environmental criteria. Data showed that widespread use of Eco Mode significantly extended battery life and reduced grid demand. The feature was well received by eco-conscious users and city planners alike. Rachel's personal commitment deepened as she integrated sustainable principles into her daily life, becoming an advocate for minimalism, renewable energy adoption at home, and community activism. Her public talks often linked the Robovan's sustainability journey to broader planetary health themes, inspiring audiences to see transportation as part of a holistic ecosystem. By the end of this chapter, the Tesla Robovan had transformed into a flagship of green mobility. More than just an electric vehicle, it was a symbol of hope and responsibility. Rachel's leadership illustrated how technology could be a force for healing the planet, not harming it. She envisioned a future where circular design, renewable energy, and social equity converged to create transportation systems that respected both people and nature. The journey was ongoing, marked by challenges and triumphs, but Rachel remained steadfast. For her, the Robovan was proof that innovation rooted in care and consciousness could accelerate humanity toward a sustainable tomorrow. The chapter closed with Rachel reflecting on a simple truth: we inherit the earth not from our ancestors but from our children. Every choice we make echoes beyond today. And in every Tesla Robovan that rolled quietly along the streets, that echo could be heard. With the Tesla Robovan firmly established as a symbol of sustainable innovation and empathetic technology, Rachel turned her focus toward expanding its global footprint, especially in emerging markets where transportation infrastructure was often lacking or inefficient. She believed that the Robovan's unique combination of autonomous capability, electric powertrain, and flexible design could address critical mobility challenges in cities struggling with congestion, pollution, and limited public transit. However, entering diverse international markets presented a complex array of technical, cultural, and regulatory hurdles that demanded a nuanced approach. The first step was thorough research and collaboration with local governments, urban planners, and communities to understand specific needs and constraints. Tesla established regional innovation hubs staffed with engineers, designers, and cultural advisors who adapted the Robovan's features to local contexts. For example, in Mumbai, India, where narrow streets and heavy traffic were the norm, the team redesigned the van's exterior dimensions and improved its maneuverability while maintaining passenger capacity. In Nairobi, Kenya, the focus was on ruggedizing the suspension system and battery robustness to handle variable road conditions and intermittent electricity supply. Rachel also recognized the importance of affordability and accessibility. Many potential users in emerging markets could not afford premium pricing models typical in developed countries. Tesla developed tiered pricing and leasing options, partnering with microfinance institutions and local cooperatives to enable broader ownership and use. The company also explored integrating robovans into shared mobility schemes, reducing per-person costs while maximizing utilization. To ensure safety and reliability, Tesla navigated complex regulatory landscapes, engaging with local transportation authorities to develop frameworks for autonomous vehicle testing and deployment. This often involved educating policymakers about self-driving technology and demonstrating rigorous safety standards through pilot programs. Rachel made frequent visits to these countries, meeting with officials and communities to build trust and gather feedback. Public acceptance was a critical factor. In many regions, skepticism about self-driving vehicles and concerns about job displacement for traditional drivers sparked debates. Tesla responded by emphasizing the robovan's role as a complement, not replacement, to human workers. The company launched training programs to help local drivers transition into maintenance, supervision, and technology support roles, fostering economic inclusion. Community outreach campaigns highlighted the environmental and social benefits, showcasing stories of improved access to education, healthcare, and employment facilitated by robovan services. Another key innovation involved adapting the robovan's software to accommodate diverse languages, dialects, and cultural norms. Tesla developed multilingual AI assistants and region-specific user interfaces, ensuring that technology felt approachable and respectful of local customs. This adaptability was critical to user satisfaction and safety. Infrastructure posed a persistent challenge. Many emerging markets lacked reliable charging networks or stable power grids. Tesla invested in building solar-powered charging stations and battery swapping hubs, sometimes in partnership with local utilities and NGOs. These hubs often doubled as community centers, providing education on clean energy and digital literacy. The project generated jobs and boosted local economies, aligning with Rachel's broader vision of technology as a catalyst for empowerment. As the robovan fleet grew internationally, Tesla's data scientists analyzed usage patterns and environmental impact across different settings, refining algorithms for optimal route planning, energy consumption, and maintenance scheduling. These insights fed back into product development, driving continuous improvement tailored to real-world conditions. Rachel's leadership emphasized humility and learning from diverse perspectives, fostering a culture of global collaboration. One particularly inspiring story emerged from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where robovans were deployed to connect underserved favelas with city centers. Residents reported increased job opportunities and social mobility thanks to reliable, affordable transport. Local artists and youth groups collaborated with Tesla to customize van interiors and exteriors with vibrant murals and cultural motifs, creating a sense of pride and ownership. Yet, challenges persisted, including occasional technical failures due to harsh environments and political instability affecting operations. Rachel remained transparent about setbacks, using them as opportunities to innovate and strengthen resilience. Internally, Tesla's international expansion required scaling operations and managing cross-cultural teams. Rachel invested in leadership development programs and fostered inclusive workplaces where diverse voices shaped the project's trajectory. She balanced ambitious timelines with patience, recognizing that meaningful impact required time and trust building. The chapter culminated with the launch of a global robovan summit held virtually, connecting partners, users, engineers, and policymakers from around the world. Rachel shared success stories and lessons learned, highlighting the project's potential to redefine mobility as a tool for equity and sustainability. She challenged attendees to envision a future where autonomous electric transport bridged divides rather than deepening them. Reflecting on the journey, Rachel felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The Tesla Robo van was no longer just a technological marvel but a beacon of hope for communities across continents. It embodied the power of innovation guided by empathy, proving that even the most advanced machines could serve the most basic human needs. The chapter closed with Rachel's mantra, "When technology meets humanity, the road ahead is limitless." Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?